savvy. More. It was always the case of more where her mother was concerned. Sarah James had never been one to settle. "You shall never receive what you are due if you do not demand it," she informed her daughter daily. "Take what you want, Mary. You were born to it." Except that Mary found she quite hated more. Her dresses always required more lace, her hair more ribbons. She was found lacking in graces and charms, her musical skills at the pianoforte and song always too stiff, her ability to carry a conversation flawlessly with sparkling laughter non-existent, or at least if Sarah James was to be believed. Her mother had married young and well above her station as the daughter of poor Irish immigrants. Her hands did not know manual labor as her mother's had. Her fashionable clothing was the work of skilled modistes and designed to impress, unlike the plain muslin Sarah James had been raised in, and Mary's childhood home was nothing short of a palace when compared to the rickety walk-up in which her grandmother had raised 9 children. And then misfortune had struck by way of her father's untimely death at sea. This was what happened when a merchant fancied himself a sailor. Mary had begged her papa not to captain the ship bound for South America, but he had not listened. It had been years since he had worked on a ship, but in his words it was, "as natural as breathing air. I shall be fine, Minnie. I'll be home in time for Christmas. You'll see, my Minnie." Minnie. Her heart wrenched painfully. It had been so long since anyone had called her that tender name. Her father had been a soft touch when it came to her, and she had relished it. Christmas had been their most treasured time together. Her father had always loved Christmas, and so had she, until he had been taken away by the sea. Mary closed her eyes, willing the tears not to fall. When the waves had swallowed his ship, they had also taken her future. Gone were her carefree days, ones that had once stretched on endlessly in front of her, full of nothing but possibility. In their place was a ticking clock counting down the days and hours until what little remained of her father's estate dwindled to nothing. Successful merchant though he was, her father had been lax in making provision for the bulk of his assets. By fluke of law, the lot had been taken by distant family Mary scarcely recognized. She supposed her father had always assumed she would marry affluently, had put off the endeavor hoping for a grandson or son-in-law to deed his wealth to. But she had not married, thought she'd been in possession of plenty of time to take her pick of suitors. But she'd been wrong. So utterly wrong. The family that had come to take their share of her father's wealth had reminded her of vultures, greedy, beady-eyed things bent on taking and taking and taking. There had been no love lost between them and her mother, which had made it remarkably easy for said family to upend the grieving women's lives and leave Mary and her mother all but destitute, save for what they were able to carry with them from their home. There had been no kindness in those people, and they had killed whatever kindness, precious little as it was, that had once lived in her mother. Mary slumped back against the table she sat in front of. After her morning sickness, she knew there was little chance that she did not look unwell. She did not wish to add red-eyed to the list of faults her mother would account to her during their daily walk about town. She sucked in a deep breath and rose shakily to her feet. She needed to freshen up and set herself to sorts. Nothing short of perfection would do for Sarah James. She would meet her mother and do her best. She would perhaps dazzle her with a witty anecdote, and though the Baptiste air had slipped through her fingers, there would be another well-suited man. One that had good intentions, one that she could, with effort, force herself to care for, to want as she